welcome to my library. My name is Melissa, and today I am doing one of the best tags I feel like that's ever been created. That's a bold statement, but honestly, the questions to this tag are very in-depth and really nosy, and I love it. This tag was created by Steve Donahue. It's called the Books and Life tag, and essentially what it is if he were to come into your life, happenstance, however you want to say it, and learn that you're a bookish person, these are the questions he would want to ask you. And anyways, I just thought that premise of a tag was so cool, and then the questions themselves are really fun. So I decided I wanted to film this today. I'm actually dealing with a back injury I got while working out, and so I just kind of think what better way to distract myself from the pain. That sounds so dramatic. It's really not, but yeah, what better way to distract myself than talking about books and making this video for you guys. So anyways, yes, so let's get started. There are, I think, 11 questions. So anyways, let's go. So number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a normal person and 10 being the late Harold Bloom, how much are books and reading a part of your life? So I've been watching this tag a lot recently, and I got very intimidated because Jason Harrigan over at Black Sheep Books, he did this tag and he rated himself a 6, which if he's a 6, I'm like a 3. He seems like a very well-read man who has a ton of books, a well-stocked library, and knows a lot. And so if that's the case, then I feel like I'm a 3, but obviously scales for this question are relative. And on my personal scale, I would say I'm around maybe a 7. I definitely always am thinking about books, and I've made them kind of a centerpiece in my life. However, my job is not about books. My major in college was not books English or anything. And I obviously have other interests besides books. So yeah, so I would say maybe around a 6 or a 7 on my own scale, but definitely up to interpretation. So there's that. Number 2, where does your personal library stand right now in relation to the rest of your life? Do you have more books now than you ever have? Fewer? How has your library changed? So this is a long story, honestly, to where my library is right now. I have always been a reader and have never really had a library. I didn't own a lot of books when I was going to school, when I was going to college, besides textbooks. I just didn't have the room in our tiny apartments that we lived in. We had these 2 dogs, crazily enough, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of books. And then finally, when we moved to Seattle, both for my career and my husband's career, when we moved there and we moved into a bigger house, I ended up being able to get 2 Billy bookcases, those classic ones that you see everywhere from IKEA. So I had those, and I loved and just relished in the fact that I had these 2 giant bookcases to fill and have finally my own book collection. So yeah, so that was kind of where my library started, I guess, and I absolutely loved it. And anyways, when we ended up moving to Phoenix, which happened this past fall, kind of the same as I feel like every other young professional who ends up leaving post-COVID, the big city, to go to somewhere more affordable. Yeah, so anyways, that's kind of what happened. But with being in Phoenix, obviously things are a lot cheaper here than they were in Seattle. Bigger houses, bigger, income goes a lot more, a lot longer of a way here is what I'm trying to say. So anyways, with that being said, I've been very fortunate to be able to build my library to what it is today. So yeah, I ended up buying these three 8 foot tall bookcases that you see. There's 3 of them that go across. And I actually filmed that whole experience. So if you guys are curious, I do have a vlog where I organize these bookshelves. They are actually reorganized since then, but it does show kind of my book collection, besides all the books I've acquired since then, which is quite a few. So yeah, this is the library as it is now. Also getting this chair was like #1 priority for me. When we were house shopping, I was looking at, okay, where could I make a library? I had to know when we were house shopping, okay, which room is my library? And that was kind of like the deciding factor for me with this house, because it actually is right next to my front door. And so it's the first thing people see when they walk in. But there's this amazing, whole wall of windows here that lets in great light. And I was able to fit this 1.5 chair here and have my bookcases on the other wall. So anyways, it's a long story to how this library came to be, but I am very proud of it, and I love it so much. It's my paradise. It's my oasis. It's just my little piece of heaven. So yeah. #3, take a mental step back and ask yourself, what is the most likely first bookish impression a newcomer would have in your home? So like I said, my library is the first thing anyone sees when they walk through the front door. And so it's kind of like the first thing people comment on. So I do get comments about it a lot. And obviously the first thing people usually exclaim is, wow, that's a lot of books. And then they usually say, so someone likes to read, which is me. Actually, my husband likes to read too, but anyways, he doesn't need like a book collection. He does have one shelf to himself though, I will say, and it's never featured. Maybe one of these days I will show you guys his shelf. But yes, he does have a shelf that is full of his fantasy books. He's a huge epic fantasy reader. So anyways, yeah, so that's usually what people say. And then what usually happens is if it's a friend or family and we have them staying over here or something, on the way out, they'll usually kind of meander over to the actual shelves and look through them and always ask me, okay, well, so what is your favorite book? And when they ask that, I usually just point them in the direction of my favorite bookshelf that has all of my favorite books, to kind of give them a taste of what I love, which is fortunate because it's right in the center of everything on this shelf bookcases, so everyone can see it right away. So yeah, it's easy to spot. Okay, so the next question, how often, if ever, gulp, do you clean or reorganize your books? So I actually reorganize quite often because I'm always experimenting with how I like the books to be organized, especially with acquiring books all the time. You're always trying to reorganize and figure out what makes sense. So initially when I organized my bookshelves, I had one whole bookcase that was just read books and then 2 others that were unread. But I didn't love how that organization was happening because it just didn't leave a lot of room for all my hauls, honestly. So then I decided, okay, I want to organize by genre and then by author. So that's kind of what's happening now, but it is also kind of very haphazardly organized, honestly. So anyways, that's kind of the strategy. That's where it's at now. But I also really like featuring covers or books that I really want to read soon. And so those ones are kind of like front facing. If you guys have ever wondered why that is, it's either like books that I'm really proud of owning or ones that I really want to read. So yeah, that's kind of the organization strategy currently, but it always changes for me, so you never know. Okay, so the next question, on average, how many books do you acquire in a given week? So this question is kind of hard for me to answer because at least for me, I acquire books sporadically. So if we're talking like on a bell curve, I guess, I would say on average, I maybe acquire 1 to 2 books a week, but it honestly is way more of a roller coaster where I'll go to a bookstore and haul 5 books and then wait a couple weeks before I go back. So yeah, it's very sporadic. So that's kind of a hard question for me to answer, but 1 to 2, I guess, is where I would fall for that. The next question, what song is your current earworm? So this question is gonna sound very pinky up, very highbrow, and I promise like I'm not trying to come off that way. But I actually do really love classical music and love listening to it as I read. And so anyways, Clair de Lune by Debussy is my current earworm. I have been listening to it recently because I actually talked about All the Light We Cannot See with my mother-in-law this past week when we met. She had just recently finished it and we started talking about that book, and one of the main themes, it's a very musical themed book, but also one of the main themes of the book is talking about that song. And so I've been wanting to play it ever since then, and so I have been, and I love that song so much. The rolling arpeggios and the chords and just the softness of it, I just absolutely love it. So yeah, that's my current earworm. My favorite music, by the way, if anyone's curious, I guess, my favorite genres of music are very, very old school, classical and jazz. Those are my 2 favorite. I love them so much. I occasionally love a good, like 50s vibe, like Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin type of thing. That kind of thing is also my favorite. But yeah, definitely anything classical is like really where I land. So anyways, okay, number 7, what percentage of your self-control do you retain in a well-stocked bookshop? So I would say 20% is probably where it's at. I've been to some very famous bookshops where I've lost my self-control. I've just kind of just been in awe. I've been to the Strand in New York City, which is a very iconic bookstore. And actually when I go to bookstores, the main thing that I love doing, if it's one that's very famous, is I love to buy a book that typifies where that bookstore is located. So for the Strand, I actually ended up buying, oh my gosh, I literally just forgot it. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. So I ended up buying that and reading it and really getting in that New York vibe, and it was awesome. So another one of my favorite bookshops is the Elliott Bay Book Company in Seattle. It is a beautiful bookstore. It's very industrial. There's like rafters above and like steel coming out of them, and it's just it's a very beautiful bookstore. I don't know how to describe it, but the perfect place to get lost and get like, they have a coffee shop at the back that you can buy coffee and then read the book you just bought. It's awesome. So anyways, yeah, that's my percentage, 20%. Okay, number 8, do you ever feel the need to take a break from your books? If so, what form does it take? So for this question, I would say I never feel the need to take a break from physical books. I have always wanted to have a physical book. I always finish a book and literally that same day will want to pick up the next book, and it's like the funnest thing ever to figure out what that next book will be. It's one of my favorite things. That anticipatory moment when you know you're going to finish a book and start the next is awesome. So I would say physically I never have to take a break, But audio is kind of where I would say I need breaks. I definitely have mood swings when it comes to audiobooks. Some months I'm really into it and can knock out a few in a month, and then others I'm not, and I really just want to listen to music or watch booktube, and I don't get hardly any audio listening done. So yeah, that's where I would say my need to take a break, what form it takes, that's where I would say it is listening to audiobooks. Yeah, very hit or miss with me for those. Okay, 3 more questions. So number 9, when you meet a new person, how long does it take you to bring up books? So I actually recently had this happen to me where I finally met some of my coworkers in real life. Yeah, I started this new job of mine when COVID was a huge thing, and so obviously we were all working from home, keeping our distance, and so I met everyone I work with via Zoom, which is not ideal. And so anyways, we finally decided it was safe enough for people to start getting together in small groups for lunches and stuff. So I finally was invited to go and meet some of my coworkers. And anyways, so I ended up going to this lunch, and obviously we got all talking about what we like to do, what hobbies we enjoy, and kind of went around the circle. So I brought up reading. I brought up that I love reading, I love books, and that brought up a huge discussion. I know some people think that like no one likes to read and there's not a lot of readers out there, but I think you'd be surprised if you, at least for me, if I end up bringing up books, there's always somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I love reading. What have you read recently? This is what I love to read. That's definitely what happened in the circle that I was going to lunch with. I think there were 6 of us and 3 of us read books. Like, we kept reading. It's not something that, you read 1 book a year or something. Like, we were readers. So it was a really fun conversation. But yeah, if someone asks me, what do you like to do? I always say reading, because that is the number one thing. And then that always sparks up a conversation about books. So it doesn't take me long, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, number 10, have you given any thought, made any provisions for your personal library after you croak? Such a morbid question. But I would say I kind of know that none of my family will want to keep all of my books. I don't think. None of them are huge readers. However, there are a lot of sentimental people in my life who definitely ascribe feelings and memories to objects. I'm actually not one of those people, but my husband is, my twin sister is, my mother-in-law is. So I would assume that they would each probably want at least one of my books when I die, whether that's, my favorite book, a version of my favorite book, Pride and Prejudice, or, it's a book that they kind of associate with me. I really don't know what that would be. I would really hope that it would be one that, is a beautiful book, is one that they want to keep in their little book collection. That would be my assumption, but that's as far as I've given thought to. Everything else I'm sure will just be tossed, unfortunately. But yeah, I guess that's as far as I've thought about it. So that's it. Okay, number 11, last question. Are you known among your friends and loved ones for your weird and probably unhealthy relationship with books? Yes, 100%. So specifically among my loved ones, I finally kind of came clean. I don't know what to say about this, but I basically am an open book now as far as having a booktube channel and having a bookstagram. My family has found me and they know that I do this as just an enjoyment for me. It's nothing that I'm trying to, be an influencer or grow to some great height or anything. Yeah, I just kind of told them this is a way for me to connect with people that love books as much as me, and to read books with other people And so they think it's so cool, actually. They've been really welcoming about it. It's been really good. I was kind of nervous, and I really didn't want them knowing for a long time, which I think is silly. But now that they do know, I've realized, oh, like they're 100% supportive. They probably think it's a little silly, but they still follow me on Instagram and stuff. And like, I'll post Step Back Saturdays and not really think twice about it, or, you know, whatever. Like, it's just fine. But yeah, so that's with my loved ones. And then with my friends, they do know I love reading, but I don't think they don't think about it. They don't associate it as big of a deal for me as my family does. They know how much of a big deal books are to me. So that's what I would say. There's kind of a distinction there. My coworkers have no idea though. Yeah, the people I spend 8 hours of my day with have no idea that I love reading this much, or that I have a YouTube channel or anything. If they happen to figure that out, I don't really care. Like, they can find me, it's fine. But yeah, it's not like I'm, you know, proclaiming it out to the world or anything. But anyways, yeah, so that is the Books and Life tag. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know down below if you have any answers to these questions you would like to, you know, chime in on, or if you've done this tag and you want me to go check it out, I would love to. Thank you, Steve, for coming up with these amazing questions. I really, really enjoy watching people's tag versions of this. The questions are awesome in my opinion. So, I also thought, just for funsies, since this is a library kind of focused tag, that I would do kind of a little aerial view of the library so you can see some of the things that you guys really never see. Like, you know, that third shelf, or, you know, some of the other stuff going on. I don't know, just something to add to the end of this video in case you're curious. So I'll add that in. But with all that being said, please like and comment and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye! Okay, so here's a tiny tour of my library. This is literally what you would see if you were to walk through my front door. That was Nellie, by the way. We're still dog sitting her. But anyway, so yeah, so here's my cute 1.5 Chesterfield chair that I searched and searched for months. And it's got my always Snape quote from Harry Potter. I love this quote. It's literally my favorite. And I wanted to have like a bookish pillow on this couch, this reading chair that I spend so much time on. And then this is where my books are that I'm currently reading. Anyway, so there's the ottoman, and then here's the shelves themselves, very zoomed out. Oh my gosh. They kind of look like a mess, but whatever, it's fine. I mean, it's honestly me just working and trying to reorganize as I go. So forgive me if they look very disorganized. But yeah, so the shelf I'm talking about that is my husband's shelf is, oh, pointing is hard, right here, this top shelf. He always makes fun of me because I put his books on like the most inconspicuous shelf of them all. And I feel kind of bad about it, but anyways, yeah, so that's his shelf, but all the other ones are mine. And I purposely leave this one open for library books, my book journals, and bullet journals, and I just kind of keep it open, so that's why that is that way. Anyways, so then I have 2 cute pivot chairs here. Green is definitely the vibe I'm going for with this library, so there's plants too everywhere, but there's another plant, here's a plant here, and then here's like a cute barn door that's on the back that you guys have seen. That's my office over there. And then this is the little wall that has I Love Us sign, and then a globe that was actually we inherited from my husband's grandma when she passed, so it has some sentimental value to it. So yeah, that's the tiny library tour that you guys might be interested in knowing about. But yeah, I just thought I'd kind of share and that is the Books and Life tag. And here's the cute doggos. Say hi. Say hi. Aw, yeah, you're so sweet. Okay, the end.